it appears, and you tell me if I'm imagining this, and as we've had, the rollout of several high-profile Democratic presidential campaigns where we see a lot of these candidates coming out for Medicare for all and then sort of getting some pushback the next day, and they're getting a little bit of pushback on things like, what do you mean eliminate private insurance and whatnot? And I want to talk about that, but there has been a significant amount of, it seems to me, coordinated effort to push back on this idea of Medicare for all, which, indicates to me that there's some powerful interests who are very afraid about that.
Oh, yeah. They're very afraid. And I think we've just seen the tip of the iceberg of the pushback. You and I and a few people are detecting it, but it's going to be, I've said that we're about to see the mother of all propaganda campaigns be unleashed against this idea, this proposal, because insurance companies and drug companies and big hospital systems, they know that this is going to be given serious consideration. It never has before. They've always been able to, one way or another, keep you from ever getting a hearing on Capitol Hill, and certainly to keep presidential candidates from campaigning on it. So they're scared. And I know if I were in my old job, I would be spending a lot of time working with my colleagues to figure out how to kill this thing.
Well, now, what do you make of one of these big talking points? I mean, you wrote about Michael Bennet from Colorado. He came out and he said, he's worried because he thinks Democrats are saying if you like your doctor, we're going to take it, or if you like your insurance, we're going to take it away from you. It turns out that this is motivated reasoning, if I can be polite, about from Michael Bennet. No.
Oh, you're absolutely right, and I wrote about that after hearing him say those things. Certainly hedging his bets and saying, first of all, some nice things about Medicare for all, and then saying, but wait, people like their private insurance companies and their Medicare Advantage plans. So, and I decided just to look a little bit closer. First of all, I recognize those talking points because they're the same kind of talking points I used to write, and I'm sure that my former colleagues and their PR people are drafting and disseminating across Capitol Hill as we speak. But I checked to see, he's gotten a boatload of money over the years in his political career from big insurance companies and big pharmaceutical companies. So he's, how the world works. If you give someone a lot of money, they're going to be more receptive to listening to you and paying attention to your talking points. And that's what we're seeing. We'll see more of that. One of the things I'm going to be doing is watching that very closely, letting people know who, certainly among the Democrats, has and continues to take money from industry groups and kind of match that up with their talking points. I recognize them, and we need to hold these folks very accountable. The truth is, of course, that the insurance industry wants us to be afraid of change and to persuade policymakers that we're terrified of losing private insurance because we love it so much. And, of course, people who have insurance, they're grateful to have it. But it is increasingly less valuable than it was last year or the year before. And that's another thing that I plan to do, and I think others will do as well, too, of just reminding people of how uncertain it is that we will have employer-sponsored coverage next year if we have it this year or even tomorrow, and just how much it's diminishing in value as employers shift more and more of the cost of premiums and insurance and care to us, how they're reducing access to providers and how they're, making so many things subject to prior authorization, which means that they're getting even more inserted, they being the insurance companies, between us and our doctors.
So, and one of the things I like about, frankly, heading over to Tarbell is the response you have to these talking points. One of the things that I keep hearing about why Medicare for all is such an impossibility is because there are 2 million people who are employed by the health insurance industry in the country. I don't know if they're that that figure is even remotely correct, but you may have a better sense of it. And they'll all lose their job. What's the response to that?
Well, it's nonsense, but it is a talking point that seems to scare people, and understandably. First of all, the big insurance companies, they're not even insurance companies largely. They've diversified significantly over the years, and a big part of what they do is not even related to providing health insurance. So all those jobs would not go away, first of all. Secondly, a lot of the people who work for these companies are doctors and nurses. They have hired tens of thousands of nurses, not to be at bedside or work in doctor's offices treating patients, but in many cases to be a barrier between you and getting the care that you need. These are people who have skills, and they can go back into providing patient care, where they can provide, in my view, much more of a social meet much more of a social need. And a lot of the other, and I know this from working in the industry for as long as I did, most of the people who work in these companies have skills that are not specific to health insurance by any means. Another reason why there are so many people who are involved in healthcare in this country is because doctors and hospitals have to hire staff who do nothing more than deal day in and day out with insurance companies to make sure they're getting paid appropriately and that they're able to get their patients the care that they need. It's providing a barrier, creating a barrier between people and their health care. And we just need to educate the public to understand these jobs will not go away. And a lot of these employees can be doing more socially responsible work pretty soon.
And I would imagine some percentage of these people would have an opportunity to work in a Medicare for All program, right? I mean, you got to hire people who you're still providing insurance. It's just that you have a single payer.
Exactly. There will be a need for a lot of people to make this work, and they'll no longer work for profit insurance companies and have as their top goal of enhancing shareholder value. They'll be working for us finally, and helping us to hopefully be able to make sure that we get the care that we need when we need it. So absolutely, these jobs can be moved into working for the single payer.
That is good to know, and we will keep an eye out for those, I guess, naysayers. And give me a sense of, with just a minute left, like what do you make of this notion of people being pushed back on the idea of private insurance going away totally? Is it necessary for private insurance to go away totally? That seems to me to be a bit of a red herring, because it's conceivable to have like sort of, I guess, supplemental insurance in some way. Right. But what do you make of that whole dynamic?
Yeah, it's also
got a minute
because these companies will not necessarily cease writing policies. They can offer supplemental policies for things that are not covered under the basic benefit plan. And you can buy coverage for procedures that would not be covered, like cosmetic surgery, for example, or to maybe get a private room in a hospital rather than sharing a hospital room. I mean, there are things that you can rest assured the insurance companies would be creative. They do that in Canada and other countries. So there would be no need for them for basic coverage, but for supplemental things, they absolutely could stay in the game.
Interesting. Wendell Potter, it is always a pleasure to talk to you, because I feel like I learn a lot more about this topic every time we speak, and we've spoken a lot, and so I appreciate it.